Prochazka versus Teixeira 2 is in the works. So is Cannonier versus Strickland, and also Molly McCann is making her return at MSG against Erin Blanchfield. I thought I'd break down all of these fight announcements, giving my reaction to the fight being made, and also an early prediction and breakdown on how I see those fights going. Let's start straight away with a fight that was announced today. Jiri Prochazka versus Glover Teixeira 2. A title is on the line, of course, the light heavyweight world championship. Glover Teixeira was on his way to winning against Jiri Prochazka in their first fight at UFC 275. And Jiri Prochazka had a bunch of moments in there, and we're going to talk about that in today's video because I feel like a lot of people don't remember the way the fight really went, and they're just sort of picking and choosing certain moments. But Jiri pulled off the win by rear naked choke in the 5th round. And respect to Jiri for taking this rematch again and asking for this rematch again, because a lot of people wanted Glover to get a rematch. No idea why. This is poison for the UFC. This is a big matchup. I'm looking forward to it. However, you don't want Glover to get the belt. But for some reason, everyone wants him to get the belt. It's just one of those things with MMA fans where they want what's worst for the UFC at all costs in certain scenarios. Like when Jiri becomes champ, it's all about how, yeah, but Glover was beating him and now we need Glover to get a rematch, and other people don't even deserve a rematch in some cases, and it's very strange how things work out. But people really wanted Glover to get a rematch here, so he's got the rematch. I think this is a massive risk. We could lose everything we have here. We could also sort of make a statement where Jiri Prochazka beats Glover Teixeira, and I am actually going to pick Jiri Prochazka to beat Glover Teixeira in the rematch, and I'll get to that in a second. But this is a massive risk. If Glover wins, he'll likely retire, and then we could ruin the entire light heavyweight division rather than having Glover fight another contender and maybe lose to them. And then we have a fresh matchup for the title. But we're making the rematch. We'll see if Jiri can right the wrong. And by wrong, he won anyway. But right the wrong as in make it look a little bit more dominant, I guess. And we'll see how things go. However, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. It's a big matchup. It's taking place at UFC 282 in December. I'm confused by this date that they've announced it for, because I get it was going to take place in December, but Jones has got to be the headliner of some of these fight pay-per-views. I don't really know what's going on. Like, when is Jones versus Miocic happening? Maybe this is going to be the co-main event. It doesn't say that it's confirmed as being a main event of that pay-per-view, so maybe this is going to be the co-main event and they're going to have Jones versus Miocic in the main event. But this basically confirms that McGregor's not returning this year, and also confirms he won't be returning in January next year because that's going to be in Brazil. So I assume that he's going to be returning earliest February is now the new comeback date for Conor McGregor if he is going to return. And we've got Glover Teixeira versus Jiri Prochazka. Great matchup to make. And I'm really looking forward to it. I just think that Jones versus Miocic should be the main event. Let's get them back in there. I feel like they're almost like stalling out that matchup so they can just immediately do Jones versus Ngannou, which is very interesting. But still, looking forward to this fight. I feel like Jiri's going to win. I mainly feel as though Jiri's going to win because Glover took a lot of damage in that fight. And here's where people don't really remember that fight, okay? Glover would have won if he didn't pull that guillotine. Glover would have won if he didn't pull guard. Here's how I feel about the fight. Sure, once we got past the first 4 rounds, if Glover didn't pull that guillotine, he might have ended up winning. If Jiri didn't reverse him on the ground and end up on top, because Glover was still on top in that position, Jiri would have not won. Like, there's so many ways you can talk about this. If Jiri didn't go for the dash choke and pull himself on bottom in round 3, which in some scorecards was a 10-8 round for Jiri Prochazka because he was absolutely mauling Glover Teixeira on the ground with massive ground and pound shots and hurting him on the feet as well, then Jiri would have won in round 3. They both made so many mistakes in this matchup. I've watched it back a lot of times. Glover would be on top, Jiri would reverse him, they'd have that moment over and over again. But Jiri would have moments where he could have finished Glover Teixeira, and he would mess it up by going for a jump knee and ending up having to stuff a takedown rather than just using his combos and using his hands to piece up Glover Teixeira. I feel as though he's going to win this one, though, mainly because Glover's an old guy. And Jiri has kind of proven that in this matchup he's almost unfinishable. And maybe Glover catches him and feels more confident in his hands in this rematch and starts using them to land on Jiri Prochazka. However, I feel like Jiri has everything to gain here. You know what I'm saying? Jiri has everything to gain here. And I feel as though he's going to, like, be more confident in his takedown defense. I'm sure that was a massive worry for him going into that Glover fight. Like, oh, God, if Glover ends up on top, I'm pretty much done. But I feel like now in this matchup, it's going to be more like, okay, I can stuff the takedowns. I can survive the submissions. I can scramble with this guy. I'm going to be more confident to let my hands go on the feet now. So I think his stand-up is going to be better because he has more confidence in his takedown defense. And I think that Glover, just being the age that he is, his face after that first fight that they had, Jiri had a cut over his eye, and he doesn't really swell up. Some fighters don't swell in the face area. I don't know what it is. But Marlon Vera's like this as well. He had a cut over his eye. He had a broken hand. That's now recovered, and he's getting back to punching with it. And so I think he broke like a small knuckle in his hand or something like that from some of the ground and pound he was throwing in round 3. But I feel as though Glover, at this point in his career, to recover from a war like that, like, fair play, he got dropped by Thiago Santos. Oh, this guy kind of clipped him. Is that going to be too much damage? We've always wondered that moving forward with Glover's career. But I feel like with that last war, being the age that Glover Teixeira is, and also him claiming that he had a really bad weight cut going into that matchup as well, is the weight cut starting to take a toll on Glover Teixeira? If he does come in lighter and less strong and less muscle bound, is that going to affect his ability to take down Jiri Prochazka? I feel like a lot of these factors come into play, and that's why I'm going to be siding with Jiri Prochazka here. I think I picked Glover, didn't I? In the first fight, I picked Glover to win. I thought like I was going to be a genius. Like, you guys didn't see the underdog of Glover. I picked him this time, but I feel like I'm going to side with Jiri this time. So maybe Glover will win by KO in the first round or something like that. But I'm feeling Jiri Prochazka's going to go out there, be more confident in himself, not have the nerves of this is the moment I've waited my whole life for, but now it's going to be time to defend my belt. I'm the champ. You know what I mean? You're going to have that sort of motivation going into the cage. And I feel as though Jiri Prochazka gets this one done by second round TKO, body shots against a cage or something like that. We move on to another moment. Another bit of news that came out, Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier is targeted to headline an event on October 15th. Respect to Sean Strickland, he is being the company man right now, the Donald Cerrone of the middleweight division, taking on anyone they give him, no matter how dangerous they are. I feel as though Cannonier is going to KO him because Strickland, you just got chinned. Like, I know this guy takes a lot of damage in sparring, and he's probably thinking, oh, man, you know, this is nothing, man. You know, I got KO'd last week in sparring, you know, and all this kind of stuff that he's going to come out with. But, dude, take some time off. Pereira just knocked you into oblivion, and now you're right back in there against Cannonier in October. To be fair, it has been a little bit. Has it been that long of time? Well, it's going to be like 5 months, 4 months, 3 months. It was in July, the start of July. So it's going to be 3 months, and he's back in there against Cannonier, a power puncher, who took a little bit of damage to the legs against Israel Adesanya in their fight and a couple of decent punches to the face. So you can't really compare the damage that they've taken in their last fight. So I'm going to side with Cannonier here. But I'm very thankful that both of these contenders are being active and staying busy, and they've got to fight against each other. I respect both of them. This is going to be a great card if you look at this card on paper. Cannonier versus Strickland main event. Co-main event, Askar Askarov versus Brandon Royval. Feature fight, Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Araújo. Also on the main card of this matchup, you're going to have a matchup of Jonathan Martinez versus Cub Swanson. And you can put whatever else you want on that card. We've got Vergara versus Taylor, Mana Martinez, Brandon Davis, and then also Piero Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. But they're all going to be on the prelims. But this is going to be a good card as it's looking right now, and that's a good main event to top it off as well. And the winner of this one's going to be right back in position to start looking maybe towards the winner of Whittaker versus Vettori. If Cannonier wins and Whittaker wins, I guess that fight was close enough the first time to sort of argue that maybe we should do it over 5 rounds. What happens if there's an extra 2 rounds? Because Cannonier, of course, rocked him at the end of the third, and Whittaker kind of survived it, but Whittaker also hurt him in the third and broke his arm in that fight with a kick. So I feel like that's a good fight to run back. Strickland versus Whittaker, Strickland versus Vettori, Vettori versus Cannonier. Sign me up for any variation of those two, and I think that's what the UFC should look towards doing next. So Cannonier versus Strickland, I'm going to side with Cannonier. He's got good leg kicks, he's got good body kicks as well, good body punches, and I think that's going to bring down the guard of Strickland. He's going to get caught parrying those shots, and I can just see Cannonier dipping low, whipping up a left hook, right onto the chin of Sean Strickland and putting him down again, and Strickland just being that sort of like, what if he became champ? It would have been funny, but he was kind of never supposed to be there anyway. However, regardless of how he got KO'd by Pereira, he's 25-4 as an MMA fighter, and against good competition, and the people that he's losing to, like, they're good fighters. So, like, Usman, Pereira, so I feel as though Cannonier has got a tough test for him, and if Strickland can get off some of those shots and land a couple of jabs on Cannonier, and, you know, Strickland's got really sharp hands. I feel like it's not even that he's got powerful hands, because he doesn't really throw to have power. But I think he's one of those guys that has really sharp knuckles. And I think that's I have quite sharp knuckles. And I think Strickland has really sharp knuckles as well. Those sort of knuckles that just sort of like dig in to the eye socket. And you notice that when he fought Uriah Hall, Hall's like orbital shattered and his eye started swelling up and his lips started to swell up as well and his nose was pushed in. Like, if Strickland can get off a couple of decent shots in that first round, you're not the same guy moving forward because you've got some kind of like ailment on your face. So I feel as though Sean Strickland has a chance, but I think he's going to get KO'd because he's turning around way too quick. Moving on up the news ladder of events to another thing. Molly McCann is facing Erin Blanchfield at MSG in November 12th. Could this mean that Paddy Pimblett is going to be on that MSG card as well? I doubt it because he said no matter what, he's not fighting at MSG. So he said he's no doubt waiting until December. And I feel as though, with all the talk about Molly McCann being a superstar, let's find out if she is on her own without Paddy Pimblett there on fight week. Let's just find out how big of a star she really is. And I think it would be good to have them separate for a time. Sure, they're a bit of a double dip. You know what I'm saying? And it's good to have them both on the card. But we could separate them. Have Pimblett in December, Molly McCann in MSG in November. But this would be a great matchup. Even if Pimblett is on this card as well, that would be a good time. I can see them doing like Paddy. They're not going to do Pimblett, Terence McKinney. I know people just want Pimblett to lose, and I think Terence McKinney would easily beat him. So I think like putting him against McKinney would be a loss for Pimblett. I think give him like a Jim Miller. He could lose that, but it's still like a big name and a more winnable matchup, in my opinion, for him than Terence McKinney is. So I feel as though it's going to be like Paddy Pimblett, Jim Miller, main card opener of the pay-per-view, Molly McCann, Erin Blanchfield, headliner of the prelims or co-main event of the prelims or something like that. So I feel as though Molly McCann's going to lose this fight. I'll be honest with you. She struggled with grappling her entire career. She's shown improved takedown defense recently, and also her boxing has gotten better, and she's been landing some more power blows, and she's been loading up on her shots a bit more and starting to put the pressure on opponents. So I don't mind her chances beating Erin Blanchfield, but I'm going to be honest, this really does smell like a bit of a hype train derailment. Erin Blanchfield has got some really good grappling, and that's where Molly McCann has struggled in her career so far. And I feel as though just the threat of that grappling, I think even Miranda Maverick may have been able to beat her, but I could see Molly McCann getting the win there just on toughness. But Erin Blanchfield is also tough, gritty. She really does put the pressure on fighters and break them down over time. And that'll be a really good fight to see. So far we've got the votes in on that fight. 94% in favour of Erin Blanchfield. I'm siding with Erin Blanchfield as well. I didn't even see those numbers, but only 6% are picking Molly McCann on Tapology so far, so I agree with them. The grappling's going to be a problem. I don't know if it should be that wide of a margin. I think the odds aren't going to show that. I think they're going to have maybe Erin Blanchfield as like a just under a 2-1 favourite or something like that, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm considering that an Erin Blanchfield win. You got to remember, Molly McCann's quite old, so I doubt we're going to see even more improvement from her. And Erin Blanchfield's 23, so she's got all the time to improve in the world. So I could definitely see her getting this one done. And she beat Miranda Maverick, who I would consider picking over Molly McCann. So we're looking forward to that one. I think Erin Blanchfield wins, but if it's on the main card of the pay-per-view or the prelims headliner position, and it gets a lot of views on there, so far it's listed as the main card, so we'll see if it is, but that'll be a good spotlight for Erin Blanchfield, a young prospect in the flyweight division, and respect to Molly McCann. I like Molly McCann. I'll be honest. I know a lot of people don't like her. I don't like her attitude at times because I feel like I can't wait to watch this Pimlet interview. Well in, lad! She's in there drunk again, you know what I mean? Jumping onto the camera lens and you can't get away from her. Like, oh, we're finally going to get some one-to-one with Paddy Pimlet. So, Paddy, how's the fight going? Well in, lad! She's jumping into the fucking frame of the camera again. It's just, you can't escape Molly McCann. She's always there. So, that is annoying, but I respect Molly McCann's fighting ability. I respect that she's turning around so quickly, okay? And I really do. I do respect that. She has entertaining fights. Her last 2 fights have been amazing. She's had great finishes. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup. And I think that's a turning point in some women's MMA situations, because most women's fights I'm not too excited for, but Molly McCann has genuinely made me excited for a women's MMA fight outside the rankings at flyweight, or barely inside the rankings of the women's flyweight division, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes, and if Molly McCann wins this one, or Blanchfield wins this one, I guess it's on to some of the top 10 fighters of that women's flyweight division, and that'll be interesting to see. And I think they'd have a massive better chance against some of those top contenders, you know what I'm saying? Like, some of these girls that are coming up at the moment, they're going to clash with each other. But once they get past each other and they start looking towards the top 10, I think there's going to be a massive, like, changeover in the women's flyweight division. Like, I don't see... Like, let's say Molly McCann, number 15, beats Erin Blanchfield, number 13, or Blanchfield, number 13, beats Molly McCann, number 15, and they get Jennifer Maia next. I can just see him beating Jennifer Maia, because I feel like there's going to be that changeover. So, really looking forward to the matchups. Good stuff. I'm picking Jiri Prochazka by TKO in the second round. I'm picking Jared Cannonier by KO in the first round. And I'm picking Erin Blanchfield by decision, 29-28. Maybe Molly McCann makes a rally in the third round. Or in the first round, she does good, but gets overwhelmed later on. 29-28 Blanchfield. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye.